guys, and welcome to the new episode of the Full Funnel B2B Marketing Podcast. So today I'm co-hosting it with Fred Linfjard from Planday, and probably some of you are acquainted with Fred from LinkedIn. Some of you have heard about Fred from our live experiment on the Full Funnel Summit. So we had lots of fun, and today, as promised, we are going to chat about how Fred's company is going to launch account-based marketing. I believe that would be a fantastic opportunity for everybody to learn from, from an experienced VP of marketing who is right now in the middle of shift from marketing to SMBs to marketing to enterprises. So we are going to chat a lot about what triggered the ABM initiative, what are the pitfalls and challenges the company faces right now, what the skill set is required, right? What are the differences the company sees, basically how Fred is planning to launch this campaign, and many more. As always, guys, you are very welcome to ask your questions. If you want to go live, just DM me and say that you want to ask a question live, or feel free to ask your questions in a Zoom chat. We are going to cover everything and we'll have lots of fun together today. Fred, thanks a lot for joining me, mate. So I believe, we can start this, we can kick it off with just a simple question. So Planday traditionally was focusing on SMBs, correct?
Yes, and I would say yes and no. I would say that I think traditionally our growth has been towards sort of like mid, sort of the lower mid, and that's kind of the organization we have, a very sales and marketing led organization. I would say that the marketing has kind of been like a one size fits all, which when that growth spurt becomes harder and harder to kind of hit, demand is harder to create. It dictates you to kind of really focus in on, okay, well, how are we doing marketing towards small companies? How are we doing it to medium and larger size? So that's really where we are now to try to figure that out with the resources we have and etc. Yeah.
And before we dive in, let's ask our folks where you guys are joining us today. So where you're all from? I'm calling from Split, Croatia. As you know, Fred is sitting on the opposite part in Malmö, right, in Sweden. Where are you all guys from? Let us know in the Zoom chat. Just type where you are all. Houston, cool, Texas, Kenya, Poland, Gothenburg, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Tel Aviv, India, UK, Antwerp. So that's really cool. So we have a really good international audience today, Brussels. And just a quick question. I just want to understand who guys attended my session with Vlad when we spoke about Planday, when we launched this funny ABM experiment. Type plus if you have attended this session, and minus if
that's the one where I was the human guinea pig.
Yeah, okay, cool. So 50-50. But if you guys would be interested to watch the recording, I can send it to you. So just DM me on LinkedIn. I will send you the recording. So let's come back to our topic. So the goal is, again, to discuss on the practical shifts to account-based marketing. So my question to you, what triggered you to start considering account-based marketing?
I mean, it really is, first just to set the scene, I'm like as when you kind of prospected me live in your experiment, you kind of really nailed the points on this person is a growth and maybe coming from CRO, and that's really is where I'm coming from and what I'm doing, and I'm kind of to find the different opportunities and where we need to focus to really have the highest impact in our marketing. And one of those points is really how can we be more effective with the marketing we do towards mid-market and larger customers. And one of those things that I really started looking into is, okay, well, how can we figure out account-based marketing, and how would we best go about that? Because you have, you're talking about one-to-one and one-to-few and one-to-many and all these things. It's not really my 100% forte, as doing that type of marketing, but I kind of know that we need to do something in those terms to be more efficient. So I started to research, right, and looking into different players, and that's where I kind of started into getting into finding you guys and others. So and then it was also really when we're starting to look at, well, who is on our website, putting in some technology so we can start revealing companies, and I saw this huge opportunity with mid to enterprise companies that we actually are not talking to today. We're doing inbound, we're doing outbound, but we're not really actively talking with the ones that are on our website, but don't necessarily convert into an inbound. So that kind of is what led to focusing on this more. And
you're using Albacross, right, for website identification?
Yes, correct. We're currently using Albacross. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me ask you a question. I'm really curious. Like you mentioned, ABM wasn't, let's say, your cup of tea, right? So you started to research. What is the most confusing part about account-based marketing from what you have seen so far?
I think it really is when you should implement that tactic, and also the points on where, how many companies you should choose to work with at the same time, and how you should set up those types of campaigns. Because I really think it's important to get to set yourself up for success. But you don't want to start too large, too big, and you don't want to start too small either. And then you have a perception internally in the company. Maybe you've tried something before, and so there's all these different parameters it's a little bit confusing at some point what it actually means. Yeah.
And how do you define ABM, the role of ABM in Planday?
I mean, the way I see it, it's really about, together with sales, defining a certain type of companies. Maybe you decide on the company level, actually 20 companies or 10 companies, and then together you target these with, maybe marketing activities and sales activities. Or it's maybe you work with just one company and like trying to, nudge them across the whole sales process. If it's a a very big account that you want to reach, right?
And so basically, how did you mentioned you need, of course, to get alignment with sales, and of course you need to get support from executives, right? And considering the fact, let's say Planday or any other organization that used to traditionally marketing to SMBs, right? Now you want to present something new, or basically completely new strategy, right? So how did you get buy-in and support to launch the pilot ABM campaigns?
I think that I think we're still in that phase. I think that there's an understanding now that we need to start doing things a little bit differently to be more effective. So that's one point. And then the second point is, it was really when we size up the opportunity by just looking at who are on our website that we're not talking to, and because it becomes very clear. Okay, these are the people that are on a company that are showing on our website and are showing intent. Are they the right ones? And do we need to get more of the right ones, or do we need to focus on actually converting the ones that are on our website. So it's all these different components that work together. And I also think Planday, we're a company that are going through change. We just got acquired by a big company called Zero, and we're kind of coming out of this startup growth phase kind of thing where you're starting to change the organization. So you kind of have to recommit that buy-in at multiple times in order for it to be successful. Because the way I see it, you have to do this together with sales and RevUps as one unit. You shouldn't just be marketing, in your own little corner, that launching these campaigns, because you might actually need sales to close some of these leads via outbound and outreach at some point.
And considering your company structure, right? Marketing team, sales team, do you foresee any shifts or changes in the team's organization or team structure?
Yeah, I think we're doing a lot in terms of marketing that we really want, that we're putting dedicated people working with this only. So we have one person that is very much working with sales and marketing alignment. Trying to get this albatross and intent leads. Where you work together and try to optimize what we send in to the outbound teams. And we also hired more of a strategic person that can help drive this as a strategic program. Getting all the different people together, because it's something that I've learned from experience. It's hard to be. Everyone has different roles, right? So but someone needs to drive a project, and pull the subject matter experts and the different functions at some point. That it's a lot of that work. And it's so easy that can just be forgotten, and it sort of just runs out and it doesn't work eventually. So I think that's the stuff that we're doing here in marketing, and really taking the time and dedication to get closer with sales, get closer with RevUps. Figuring out, are we looking at the metrics the same way? Are we? Do we have the same priorities? If not, we need to discuss it. I think that is so important to really consistently work with.
Absolutely. So basically, when it comes to ABM team, from marketing side, you have two dedicated people, right? So one is in charge of intent data tracking and basically collecting this data and transferring this data to sales team. And then you have, let's say, head of ABM team, a person who coordinates the campaigns, tracks the performance, aligns with sales, etc. Correct?
Yeah, correct. So that person, the last one you mentioned, that would be really the person holding the stick and pulling in people from my team. So the performance marketing manager that would know how to work with the different channels, LinkedIn, etc. And you have creative teams, content people, right, to be able to allocate resources, and creating the stuff that we actually need to talk about. Also product marketing, how should we talk with these companies so it resonates with them.
And when it comes to sales, do you have as well dedicated SDRs? I mean, dedicated to the ABM program, or they just do it as a part of their day job?
So I think that's where we want to go. I think it also we need to respect the fact that there are different sales methodologies and processes so you need to also get buy-in from those things and make sure that everyone understands that this is a good idea. I think we have some ways left to go there, but we have some SDRs are really think it's good and have been working with it, started booking meetings with it, see the opportunities. And then in other countries it's a little bit less, but it's also due to the fact that where we are, a lot of new people are coming in, need to be trained both in sales and marketing. That's why you kind of need to create the playbook and get it into the operating model, really, that okay, now really are going to work, focus, and dedicate in a dedicated way with this. And that's what I spend most of my time on figuring out and talking with people about. Yeah.
And how many SDRs are involved?
So far, right now, the setup is that the person in my team meets with the team leads, the SDR team leads, once a week, and just collecting feedback. So what we're sending in there, are they the right ICP? When you call them, what is the how do they react? How do you phrase the call? Are you using the information from their website visit in your call to build up calls? If not, should we try doing that, and all these things? So we're really much in the startup phase of getting to the point where we start sending in the right hot prospects to the outbound teams, because you want to really get to a point where what we send into the outbound teams has, first of all, it has to have a high average contract value, right? You don't want to send in like small ones in there, because then it wouldn't be any ROI on the outbound to call the small ones. So, and then also the right industry, the right information, so they can get equipped with the knowledge to reach the right person as fast as possible. So we're very much working hard on this and figuring this out, and it's sales and marketing alignment. It can't be any more clearer that that's what this is all about, this exercise.
And I'm just curious, so how did you get sales buy-in? So what did you say to sales to align and involve them in account-based marketing?
I think when I started showing off, sort of like planting a seed, was when we put in Albacross, really, or that I don't really know what the category is called. Intent platforms. I don't know.
Doesn't really matter.
But showing them the potential that here's all the companies that are on our website. Here's what they're doing, and we're not calling them today. That kind of, then it's very easy to see the potential. But in order to get from there, that aha and wow moment, like, wow, that seems amazing, give me that now. And we started sending it into Slack, and we to play around with it, and called to actually operationalize it is much harder, because you need to integrate it maybe to a Salesforce, and that might take some time, and there might be different priorities in some teams, and so you might end up, it's kind of, the aha moment is over, and then people kind of might go back and do what they usually do. So then you have to re-trigger that again, and try different approaches.
So basically, initially, their buy-in was like understanding, okay, there are marketing sourced accounts, let's call it that way, right? So there was some marketing activity that brought targeted traffic to the website. Now this web traffic is revealed, and sales team can use this as an opportunity to connect and use these insights for prospecting these accounts, right? That's one of the insights. Now you mentioned several challenges, right? So it's just until you don't have the operations, until you don't have a clear playbook, people start playing because it's something new, it looks fancy, but after some time they start doing whatever they want. And if we skip this part, it just was like a very surface overview of potential account-based marketing program, right? So what other challenges do you see while shifting to ABM? Challenges, pitfalls, whatever you are facing right now?
So I would say, I think what I've been thinking about is, you want to get off to a good start. So you want to start with like a pilot campaign or something where I think it's important to to prioritize that, and also communicate very clearly what people can expect when you're doing a pilot campaign. will it be shown in, the leads or whatever? Or maybe we won't be able to see what we're doing in this campaign until, 3 months down the line. I think it's important to be very transparent and set those expectations right, because it's so easy that a company, oh, now we're going to try LinkedIn or something like that, and oh, that was really expensive. It didn't work for us. Let's not do that anymore, right? And then they go off to the next thing. So I think it's important to set those expectations. This is how much it's going to cost. Here's how we're going to start it. Here's the people involved. It's going to take, some sales dedication, some marketing together to kind of get this up and running. We might need to use a partner to help us facilitate this. So it's really also about maybe a mindset change, and hopefully you can be able to do it in a small way and get a quick win that you can communicate in order to buy yourself some even more time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And from your perspective, what is the necessary skill set you need to have in your team to launch the program successfully?
I think a lot of the skill set is there. I mean, it's definitely product marketing, that know the jobs to be done and all these different things, and performance marketing, people that know how to operate the channels, and content, and then figure out a good framework and strategy. Maybe even get help with that. I think the challenge is to work together in a focused way to do it. I think that's where the big challenge is, to really have time to work together as a team across the functions inside marketing, but also getting other people involved outside, so in sales and maybe rev ops and maybe even product, if it takes that.
And I'm wondering if you have already set up any metrics you want to use to measure the efficiency of ABM program, or if no, if it's still in your to-do, like what metrics you consider that's the right metrics to measure the campaign performance?
I've been thinking a lot about this, and I definitely hope that you're going to shed some light on this more. But I mean, I've been thinking a lot on, if, for instance, web traffic. I would want to probably try to look at traffic that I now can reveal in a fairly good way, to see how many of the right mid to large companies that are coming to our website, either through direct or paid. That doesn't really matter. I because that's hard to track. I just want to look at how many of these companies that I want to hit are going to come to our company. Is that going to go up? And can I, will that go up, that number, when I'm starting my ABM efforts? Because I don't think you will be able to, see, the attribution to be, AdWords or Facebook. I think that it'll be hard to really look at it in that way. You might really get to trying to figure out to track it too much. It's going to come direct or whatever, or maybe it's going to be an engagement on posts if we do LinkedIn. So we need to find those, and I would love to hear your if you have any insights or tips on that, how to set up the tracking framework, monitoring.
Yeah, and we can do a quick check and involve our community. So guys, from your point of view, what are the most important ABM metrics that you should track? Just type in a Zoom chat, share with us what do you think are the most important metrics, so we can share it with everybody. Also a question from Casper. Wouldn't you look at MQL to SQL conversion and see if this conversion increased?
I mean, that metric there, So I want to get away from only looking at MQL, because that means that you have to have a really good inbound game. So like converting into demos or trial. The way I see it is that it will only be a fraction of people on your website that's going to convert into an inbound, like maybe up to 2%. That's why for me it makes sense to use outbound and inbound together to convert leads, especially these bigger types, because I'm going to be paying for marketing towards all the traffic that comes to our website. So if I'm only measuring the 2% that converts inbound, I think that might be too little.
Price also says that we are trying to use ABM to increase pipeline velocity, and I believe, yeah, indeed. So in case if you want to track actually any campaign should be tied to revenue, right? So you need to see how the campaign improves the pipeline velocity and the core revenue metrics as number of sales qualified opportunities, as the ACV or average contract value, the sales cycle length, and the win rate, right, the deal close rate. So these are the most important things. Now, coming back to the campaign orchestration, right, and your campaign setup and sales cycle lengths, there is no silver bullet. Some companies have 12 months sales cycle length. Some companies have like 1 month, right? Of course, the campaign setup would be different and metrics should be different. And also it depends on Abm Campaign Goals. What I'm seeing when I'm chatting with peers about account-based marketing, surprisingly, when we discuss ABM, everybody thinks in terms of net new revenue or SQLs, and let's say new opportunities that could be converted into revenue, right? But at the same time, we have different goals that we can set up for ABM campaign. Goal number 1, deal acceleration. You have some deals in your pipeline, right? And your goal is basically doing something with these deals, right? Either closing them, winning these deals, or losing these deals and just forgetting about these accounts. Next one is deal expansion. So let's say you have an enterprise client, right? And this client have different branches, but these different branches or different teams or different departments are not using your product, but you have the use cases that potentially they can use, right? And that's the lowest hanging fruit. So you basically can start upselling or deal expansion campaigns, right? And finally, churn prevention. Honestly, I have never heard that anybody ever ever initiate the conversation about churn prevention. But imagine, let's say that in our, if you look at our revenue, right? Let's say 30% is coming from enterprise segment. And this 30% are split between 6 accounts, so 5% per account. Imagine if we want renew the contract with the account, we lose 5% of revenue, right? And that's huge. And most companies never think about this, right? But nobody wants to be in the position when we'll get an email saying, hey guys, sorry, we are not going to renew our contract. So we're going to select a new vendor. And that's the problem. This is something that we always need to consider, right? And based on these campaign goals, we need to, these are the core goals, and depending on this, it could be revenue, as a core metric, it could be sales qualified opportunities, it would be deals won successfully, right? Or it could be churn prevention revenue, another goal. Now we have leading indicators, because if you have long sales cycle, right, you won't be able to get the results fast. So the key point here is what leading indicators we can set up to make sure that at the end of our sales cycle will achieve our target metrics. So it could be whatever, right? Engaged accounts, connections with the buying committee. So basically, if we'll think in terms of funnel, depending on our campaign orchestration, we just start from the top and going down and then tie it with the revenue. So these are the most important things. And yeah, starting with the goal, then defining these leading indicators and tying these leading indicators with the revenue. I think that's the most important part. And completely agree that's the ultimate goal is basically increasing sales pipeline velocity and growing revenue, right? But the key point is that we can grow revenue differently, not only by generating net new opportunities. I was wondering, I wanted to ask you as well, did you plan any campaigns that you want to launch, or maybe you can share like your pilot campaign setup? How do you consider to launch it?
I think so. So we're not there yet, but the way I've been thinking about it is that I know that we previously, and maybe that was before I joined Planday, we tried they tried LinkedIn, and I think we did it maybe too rushed or in the wrong way. It was too expensive. So I definitely want to go much more towards really nailing LinkedIn, because for all the benefits that comes with it in terms of targeting and I mean, just the engagement, getting people more engaged, maybe finding more ways where we can become more thought leaders and really talking about it. And it's a little bit, we're trying to figure this out because we're a global team and we're local teams. So so we need to really split up how we work with this because I truly believe that the people on the ground locally needs to be equipped on doing these type of activities themselves. And it's my role to kind of build this framework where it's very easily to deploy new types of activities, like a podcast or a webinar. It should be, we have an idea, let's deploy it. It doesn't have to be 3-month plan to it. It should be able to be deployed really fast and see if it works or not. I mean, I think that's where I come back to where to kind of my core the stuff that I core work with is experimentation and growth. I want to be able to prove something as fast as possible if it's going to work or not. And in order to do that, I need to have set up the framework and the tech and the measuring, so I can really do that very fast to try different things. Because I mean, we can do a pilot campaign, but we might need to do several pilot campaigns and test to see what works, what resonates with our audience. And it's also based on the product that we have. I mean, we're catering to many different industries within workforce management, and some things are going to resonate with different people, depending on what they need their job that needs to be done. Maybe we can work a lot with activating our employees. I mean, we have some really skilled people that know how you optimize, your business. We have this inside the company that are helping small business, mid business, large business to improve the way they work with their workforce management every day. How can we deploy them in the mix? So these are the thoughts I have going around.
And just considering your experience, right, being in the middle of transition, from your point of view, what are the most common mistakes companies that want to launch ABM are making?
Well, I don't think maybe I don't qualify on talking of that, but I mean, I can do, when I worked in a large company quite a long time ago, a company called SKF, where it was very much enterprise and long sales cycles. We were talking about doing marketing automation and getting that to work. I mean, and one thing that you need to have is that handshake with sales, that they will, that they're going to work the leads that come in, right? And we did that as well. And we did sort of these, maybe it was called ABM back then, I don't remember, but we did sort of IP-based targeting. So we would, do ads towards these company IP addresses. And it actually was with Albatross, but they were called something else before. And it actually worked very good, but we still needed that almost a written agreement, between marketing and sales. Like, we are going to deliver this to you guys, and they said yes. We will then do our best to call these people and give you the feedback. If you don't have that, I think I think you're in trouble. So you have to have a very solid agreement between the commercial functions when you do ABM.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And yeah, written agreement, at least like a kind of document that is accepted by both sides, that clearly articulates who is in charge of what, right? What are sales accepted accounts? What is the sales playbook, right? So what exactly they should be doing? What is the cadence, etc. And also it should include sales should be onboarded on how marketing is going to create awareness and engagement with these accounts, because if they have no clue, right, if they don't understand where these accounts are coming from, then what, right? Because you can purchase Zoom info credits and just get a list of accounts and send it to sales and say, hey, so guys, these are the engaged accounts, go and call them, right? So
yeah,
that's...
I think also, I mean, the way I see the best way to, when you're trying to start something new, like ABM or whatever, that it's almost like a small change management, is that you start small. So for instance, at SGAP, we didn't do 130 countries marketing automation. I was part of the Nordic unit, so we didn't even do all the Nordic countries. We maybe started with Finland because there was a marketing manager there and a team that he could say, hey, I'm going to put this person to only call them. You do that successful, you kind of create that inbound effect that, wow, they're doing that, we also want to do that, and that they will kind of come to you and ask questions instead of, hey, we're going to do ABM now, drop everything in your hands, we're going to work this way now. I don't think that will work.
No, I think you just nailed it. It's absolutely important that you start small with a small pilot team in one market, and just these people shouldn't be distracted completely from their daily operations, right? But they should, let's say, treat it as a side project or as an experiment. They do it small, they do it really fast, they get the results, and usually the pilot campaign, like, you always need to treat it as an opportunity to learn. Like, of course, you can generate the opportunities, but opportunities, from my point of view, shouldn't be the key metric, right? It should be all about learning and getting the feedback from the market fast. Why? Because the chances, if you are doing something new for the first time, doesn't matter if it's ABM or any different campaign, right? The chances that you are not doing it perfectly are really high, right? So if the faster you'll get the feedback, the faster you'll be able to get these insights and refine your account selection criteria, warm-up play, activation play, whatever, value proposition, pitches, right, message, marketing message, whatever, right? The better would be the further campaigns. And then once you see the traction, you define what traction is, right? You can start operationalizing it, creating the playbooks, and more or less start involving new people, right? Otherwise, you can just involve multiple people. Nobody has an idea what's going on, right? What everybody should be doing. And as you mentioned, after some time, people will switch to what they used to be doing. And then you don't have the results, you don't have the support, you lose the momentum and trust.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that, if we go back to metrics, when you're trying to measure this campaign, in sales and marketing led, it's going to be a lot of different factors, right, in play. So as you're saying, yeah, we might do an ABA campaign and it starts as an opportunity or whatever. But how do we actually know that they are getting the same sort of treatment as the rest. Are they getting the same calls? Is it the same person? Is that person, doing the same type of prospecting or talking with these people the same way as the other one? So you kind of really want to figure that out together, make sure that you do it sort of in a consistent and ways, just so you don't end up not knowing. Maybe it could have worked, maybe that opportunity would have been perfect, but maybe for some reason they didn't get that call at that time when they were ready.
And maybe the last question that is coming from me, and then guys, if you have any questions, feel free to type your questions in the Zoom chat, so we'll cover your questions as well. So my question is, did you face any objections from sales or executives? And if yes, what were the objections and how did you overcome?
No, I don't think I got any. I don't think I got any objections, especially in this case. I think that everyone would be is welcoming more leads and whatnot. I think, but then it's sort of the day-to-day sets in. I mean, they have a way of working right now. This is a new way of working, so you need to have a plan. So and a commitment that there's both sort of parties needs to help out here, and you also have to respect that. It's so you need to kind of start from the top and figuring out, okay, well, how can we get a pilot team, as you're saying, that can work with this consistently for not just a month, but maybe a quarter, or a half a year, so we can really start seeing the effect of this, and maybe even compare it to the normal ways we are working.
Cool, thank you so much. So I really enjoyed this convo, and you guys, let us know in the Zoom chat, how did you like the session? Type plus, thumbs up, fire, whatever you prefer, like any kind of emoji. Yeah, and or just provide us your feedback. Was it insightful? Did you learn something new? And yeah, there is a question from Casper. So you have been running your pilot campaign and you have identified the stakeholders in the buying committee, right? POS and users, tech people, C-level people, all are part of the decision of purchasing or discarding your product. How do you target these different stakeholders and what channels do you use?
So I'm probably going to need help with you here, Andre, or someone really good at channels. But I would say if it's what we're talking about now, mid-market, I would start with LinkedIn, and I would set it up in a way so I can retarget these LinkedIn people. Probably test to see if we can retarget them on other channels as well. That's in terms of channels, I would say. And then of course, you have Google Ads, which would be maybe more high intent and trying to have some sort of consistency there. But I think where you find them would probably be LinkedIn. That's what I would where I would start, just for the fact that I know that that's where they are. So I know I've already looked into that. So I want to start there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes. I would start even simpler. I would start with just focusing on one vertical, and then just interviewing my key accounts about their buying process and asking like what channels do they use and how do they usually search for information related to our product, to our business, etc. That would be the first easiest way to identify the channels. Like as a rule of thumb, we can always say LinkedIn, right? But what if our market is not hanging out on LinkedIn? Or what if, let's say, our buying committee is not hanging out on LinkedIn? Then, of course, we just need to figure out. And then the next question is like, to answer probably properly that question, what should be our warm-up campaign? What should we exactly do? Like most companies by default think that it's enough just, let's say, select these different roles and target them with the ads, display ads, context ads, whatever. Now we are talking about mass marketing campaign. It's like traditional marketing, more automated, right? So we're driving the traffic, then we track this. Let's say ideally they should like sign up for a demo call or sign up for a free trial, or if they don't do it, next we have this website like traffic reveal software, so we can send these accounts to sales and sales could follow up without diving into details, right, what exactly they should be saying. But this is an approach that we should take to tier 3 accounts, so basically accounts with the lowest revenue potential. Now we have tier 1 and tier 2, right? The higher the revenue potential, the more personalized campaigns should be. And then we need to decide what else we should be doing aside from launching display ads. In this case, I always say that ads should be an add-on to your manual warm-up campaigns. We have lots of this stuff, like I think we don't have time to dive in right now. We have lots of these, let's say, campaigns. We chatted a lot about these campaigns. You can find, guys, the recordings on our YouTube channel, or just listen to some past podcast episodes. Or if you are interested in details, you can DM me. I can send you just the practical example. So that would be the most important part. And I think Casper is absolutely right. So if, let's say, if we are talking about tier 3, then of course we can define the vertical value proposition, right? It would be universal, just saying something like, hey, so at full funnel, we help B2B tech companies with long sales cycle and high ACV to install account-based marketing and land enterprise opportunities, right? This is a kind of vertical niche value proposition. But let's say if I are going to sell to Siemens, or I don't know, to Albatross, right? Then our value prop should be aligned with the goals and the needs of these specific accounts. That's the first thing. And the second one is that different buying committee members will have different needs. And to properly address these needs and to properly market in this specific account, we need to run account research. And this is quite often missed in the account-based marketing process, quite often. So neither marketing nor sales are not doing this account research and not really diving deeply understanding what's happening in this specific account. So this is really crucial. And finally, it depends on, again, if we're launching pilot campaign, like as Fred mentioned, that's absolutely true. You need to start small and maybe even minimizing the buying committee structure. Like, because if you're doing the first pilot campaign to tier 1 accounts, I don't know, let's say you are selling to Microsoft or IBM in United States, right? You might have like 15 buying committee members. Of course, you won't be able to target it with just one, I mean, to address them properly with, or approach them properly with one marketer and one SDR. So in this case, you need to sacrifice, I mean, for the first pilot campaign, you need to sacrifice some roles and maybe focus on the core roles. If you'd ask me, I would focus on champions, like the people who are not the decision makers, but people who might be the end users of the product, or people who can present your product to the decision makers. Why? Several reasons. Because it's usually easier to connect with them, right, than reaching out to VP of IT or VP of marketing at Microsoft. Way easier, right? So it's way faster to get the feedback. It's way faster to get the insights about their needs, the goals, etc. And then just plan appropriate program. But regarding the channels, it's totally unique. You can't say that it should be, it should be LinkedIn or should be something else, who knows. So in our case, we had a customer that, well, just after running several customer interviews, we have identified, because the target audience was, let's say the broad audience was IT department, but target roles were engineers, right? And these people, you could engage them only in like once they were members of one specific association. So the only chance to like basically aware them of that our product exists was somehow partnered with this association. And then you have multiple opportunities. You can do like kind of content collaboration. You can co-host an event, virtual, offline, whatever, right? Multiple things, right? But that's the way. Before this company tried to do LinkedIn, it didn't work. Why? Because these people are not hanging out on LinkedIn. So lots of these things. But again, as a rule of thumb, I completely agree with Fred. So I would start with LinkedIn. Usually you can find, in the majority of cases, you can identify these companies, right? And the buying committee members, and use it for the pilot campaign.
But just what you mentioned there first, getting target lists and run ads. That's what we did, and that did not work, right? Because there's only going to be a fraction of these that are maybe in market for a solution at some point. So you need to kind of, I'm more leaning towards where we start adding value and being present in these areas, groups, hashtags, people that are talking and becoming a person. So when they are in market, they actually know your name, and then they come in. So it's like it's kind of that's where I'm leaning towards, and how that works with ABM. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Andre.
No, you're absolutely right. This is like what we did last week. We hosted this webinar called ABM on LinkedIn, and I was explaining that there are two ways. ABM, like version 1, right? Create a list of accounts based on LinkedIn, like verticals data, computer, software, marketing, and advertisement. You know how LinkedIn calls it, right? Then define the roles like CEO, CFO, whatever, right? And then you just upload your ads, banners, or like whatever you want to do, right? And treat it as an awareness. And as you mentioned, quite often it doesn't work. For me, actually, let's say if we focus in account-based marketing on marketing, right? The goal of the marketing is to work on 3 phases of the funnel: awareness, demand generation, and demand capturing, right? When you capture the demand, then you can start sending these accounts to sales, because these accounts passed engagement threshold. And of course, you define with sales together what engagement threshold means, right? And then sales start prospecting these accounts and basically activate them. But the goal of the marketing is to create awareness and create demand and capture this demand. How you can do it, you nailed it. Like generally speaking, there are multiple opportunities. You can engage with these accounts, right? You can engage with their content. You can start conversations. If it's not LinkedIn, let's say, you can, as I mentioned, you can co-host, you can do content collaboration, you can co-host events, micro events, right? Offline events, could be business breakfasts, whatever. So lots of opportunities. You can partner with these associations and co-host or co-run the market research, multiple things. But the key idea is that if you are not focusing on tier 3, where you can automate the process more or less, right? Lots of your activity should be manual, and you must, as you mentioned, you need to focus on kind of creating manual engagement and attracting their attention in the channels where they are. Could it be thought leadership? Could it be commenting? Could it be anything else?
If you think about it, Andre, us being here is kind of part of it. I mean, if you really think about it, this is funny because you prospected me live. You started with commenting on something that I wrote, right? Then you gently invited me to a podcast. I mean, if I need a partner, most likely I'm gonna give you the money. I mean, so it's if you think about it. So it's which is pretty cool, and I love to be in the in the experiment, not just doing the experiment. For one, but how can we do this in such a way that feels relevant and natural? Because I don't know how big your business is, but I'm sure you're not sitting and doing that every day, or maybe you are. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question, but actually, I promise that I will use a part of it to buy beers and drinks in Valencia, so if you're coming. So don't worry. Good part of it will be secured to have some fun with our community. But jokes aside, as I mentioned, that works really well in any business. The only one thing that I would like to mention, because what you mentioned, it just, let's say, we see one workflow, right? But aside this, let's make a step back. Before this summit, right? Before this event, what did we do? We started to post on LinkedIn, right? And we have some people, common connections, that engaged with my content. And as I mentioned behind the scenes, my network in Scandinavia is growing, not deliberately. I don't do like anything specifically, but I connected to several folks. And that's why my content appeared in your newsfeed. At the same time, you were doing your own research, and that led you to our website, right? So this is like what we're talking right now about dark funnel. So it's not correct to say that we only did this and it worked, right? So there were multiple things that actually influenced to this podcast interview, what we are doing right now. At the same time, as you mentioned, let's step back from Planday's business and full funnel.io businesses, right? Let's imagine if we're both working, like as I used to work for Kimberly Clark, right? And we are prospecting different accounts. Let's say I'm CRO, you are head of marketing. Now let's imagine we want to sell to Microsoft. And what we are going to do, like you start the thought leadership and you are connecting with marketers from these target accounts, while I'm connecting with salespeople. And of course, we do this thought leadership, we do this engagement, right? And with the same accounts, but with different people. And this is how we create account engagement. At the same time, you say, hey, so you know what? I want to invite, like I'm running this podcast, I want to invite, I don't know, VP of IT, and I want to bring our VP of IT to the event, right? So could you also ask your sales, connection to bring this person? I do this and I invite them. It's not, we're not thinking about generating opportunity, it's more connecting and creating additional awareness, right? But next, what we are doing with you, we are saying, hey, you know what? I was chatting with my sales guy, with my sales connection, and it seems this guy is like a huge fan of Manchester United, right? What if we purchase like tickets and invite him and somebody else from their team, to join us on that game? Let's go. And step by step, we are building this, right? And we are doing like small account research. We have informal talks, we get the account insights. And then we say, okay, guys, you know what's like, I was chatting with Fred. And by the way, we were thinking that like we have some good case studies that we've done to similar to what you guys are doing right now. We saw that you published, this press release or whatever you published on LinkedIn, that you plan to do this and that. Like, would you like to see it, right? And this is how we are going towards capturing. Maybe nothing will be out of that engagement, right? They might say, okay, send it to us and let's see. But let's imagine that sometime later we co-host a summit and we invite like your marketing connection to give a talk at this summit. And then this marketing connection sends the link to the entire team and more people are coming. And you see how it's going, right? And then at one point, somebody else says, okay, so we need this product, so let's go with these guys. So if we'll say that only last activity was like actually attributed to revenue, we won't be correct. But what I wanted to say, if like I was in sales shoes and you were in marketing and we were working together, right? This is alignment. This is what helped us to finally bring this one enterprise client to our business with like multiple non-sales touches, let's call it that way.
But the funny thing is, Andre, but like the one thing that you guys are doing, you're putting out some really valuable content. And if you look in your CRM, you're going to have 3 email addresses. They're all me, and they're not Planday of getting these contents, right? So which is really funny. So I had actually engaged with you guys like a long time. I haven't answered any sort of outreach, any automate. I haven't opened any emails, but I've got the content. It's really good. And then it started pop up in my feed and whatnot. So it's not always about the inbound. I mean, sometimes it's just one person, right? I mean, behind several email addresses, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So that's it. I hope you guys laughed a lot. We spent a good 1 hour together. We are considering as well with Fred to co-host an event in Copenhagen in Denmark maybe this June before the Valencia meetup, maybe later this year, we'll see, but definitely we'll co-host it, so stay tuned. We made a really good connection, so we'll have lots of fun. I have heard about good sandwiches in Copenhagen and good beer, so you definitely should wait for me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea, and thanks everyone that wanted to listen.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for joining us today. As always, you'll get the recording from me a little bit later today, and you can find it on our YouTube channel. Just type fullfunnel.io or go to fullfunnel.io/podcast, and you'll find the audio recording of this episode. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week on the next episode. Cheers.